A couple of weeks ago when I posted a YouTube short about the new multifunctional utility knife from Milwaukee, I got a lot of messages. Well, let's say I got a lot of comments under the video stating that it's a total ripoff of the Gerber Prybrid Utility Knife. So I immediately went to Amazon. I bought the utility knife just to do a quick comparison between the two to see if Milwaukee did. Now, many of you might say that wasn't really necessary because all you have to do is take a look at it and you could actually see that Milwaukee has copied the knife. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make for a good comparison because you want to feel it, you want to see how it functions, you want to see if Milwaukee actually improved on the design or if they made a knife that is not really that good. Now, I've had it for a while, I've used it for a while, and I have my thoughts on it, but I've never really used the Prybrid, to be honest. Because like I said, this is the first time that I actually found out about the knife, and that's because of the comments. So I bought it, so I'm going to open it now and take a closer look and look at some of the features. We're going to compare the amount of functions. For example, the Prybrid said there's 8 tools in one, and I can't recall how much tools Milwaukee says that this multi-tool is in one. But it did list the things it could do, so obviously we could count that and kind of decide, all right, how many tools they're actually claiming that this is. All right, so let's open the Prybrid and see how it goes. So I'm going to open it with the twine scraper utility knife. Let me see the best way to open this. So I don't want to cut the. I keep forgetting that it has a belt clip. Alright, so we have the Prybrid out of the pack, and immediately it feels really good in hand. It really feels good. I like the way it feels. It has a very grippy, secure feel in hand. Alright, so I'm gonna just put this down here. We can just zoom in. Alright, so in the pack, what you get is this piece of, I believe it's the instructions. This is the Prybrid out of the pack, and if you look really closely, they really do look similar in size and in design. So first thing first, let's talk dimensions. Now, the Prybrid is actually 4.25 or 4.25 inches in length, whereas the Milwaukee is 4.33 inches in length. So that's the total length of it. So the Prybrid is a bit shorter than the Milwaukee. The Prybrid is actually 1.25 inches in width, whereas the Milwaukee is 1.32 inches of width. So the Milwaukee is a little wider than the Prybrid in this case, right? So that's the difference. And weight-wise, the Prybrid weighs 2.9 ounces, whereas the Milwaukee weighs, I think, 3.68 ounces. So let's say 3.7 ounces. So the Milwaukee is a bit heavy. Now, that is because I believe the Milwaukee is all metal. Do you think that it's plastic? I think it's this part here where you remove the blade. But other than that, the entire tool is metal. The entire chassis is metal. Whereas the Prybrid uses a material called G10. It feels almost plastic, even though G10 is like a high-pressure fiberglass laminate. And it's very good when it comes to thermals. And it's a composite material. So it's very durable, very strong, and very lightweight. So that kind of accounts for it being a little lighter. Now, if you look at the center, the chassis is a metal frame, and then they screwed on the G10 onto the frame. So the difference with it now, this is just two pieces. This is the bottom part of the blade with the Milwaukee, which is where the pry bar is, and then the top face. Whereas the pry bar portion of it is actually sandwiched between the G10. Now, when it comes to opening and closing it, out of the box, the G10 feels smoother immediately. When I got, you could actually see me literally having difficulty. Let me switch on, because this is no stronger hand. It's a little difficult and a little uncomfortable to open and close the Milwaukee. Maybe it'll get a little softer as time passes, but it's very difficult to open and close. And you actually kind of have to dig in. The pry bar sort of digs into your hand when you have to open it. Whereas with the pry bar, it's much smoother. right? And it locks into 2 places. So it locks 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So 2 places as well. So they both lock into place in 2 places. Now, when we look at the thickness, you can actually see the Milwaukee is significantly more thick than the Prybrid. And that to me is significant because when you look at the photo at the back of the package, which I'll put up now when I unboxed it, they showed Milwaukee I'm talking about specifically, they actually showed it being very thin. And I tried to look to see which part of it was that thin, but you can see it's very thick in comparison to the Prybrid, which is very thin. And in hand, you could feel it. There's this little bump in your hands, and it's very slippery too. So, and that's the next thing too. When your hand gets wet, this is very unstable, which I don't like. Let's discuss some of the features. Now, the Gerber actually said that this has 8 functions. So it's 8 tools in one. And Milwaukee simply lists out what it can do. So with the Milwaukee, they say it has a prybar and a scraper. So I'm assuming it's the prybar here. And it can also use a scraper because it has a slight taper. It can pull nails. So you can see the nail pull in the center here. And it will also pull staples. It has a cut hook, which is this hook here, cutting. And you can only use it when the blade is retracted, because once the blade is up, there's like a metal sheet that prevents you, because obviously if you have to do that, you might accidentally cut your hand. So there's this little metal sheet that comes out that prevents you from using the cut hook at that time. It's a wire stripper as well, bottle opener, and also it can open paint cans. Well, that's it. I think that's what Milwaukee says it can do. Now, the Prybrid, on the other hand, they claim that it's 8 tools in one, and the 8 tools are the prybar, which is located here at the top, and they also say that it can be used as a flathead screwdriver, and I believe that it could be done. It's small and thin enough to have a lot of difficulty, so we'll actually test that. It can be used as a nail puller, wire stripper, as a flathead screwdriver, as I said before, bottle opener, and cord notch, which is here. So you can actually cut cord. And in the same fashion, you can only use it when the blade is down. When the blade is up, there is a metal protection that prevents you from using it. Now, let's talk about the blade, right, and how the blade is deployed. Now, with the Milwaukee, there's a very nice size button here that allows you to, when you slide it up, there's a push button. Well, you don't have much, you don't get as much blade. Less of the blade is exposed for use with the Milwaukee. But then there's a nice little button right here. So you just push the button and you can pull the blade out and then hold the button down and push it back in. And that's how easy it is to load and unload the blade from the Milwaukee. Now with the pry bar, this is how you have to remove the blade. There's a little button, I don't know if you can see it right there. The light hits it right here. You have to push that down. When you push that down, you pull. And the blade comes out. Now to put the blade back in, you have to push it back down. Because if you can see that there, this portion will be like it's spring loaded, so like it pushes down. So you have to push this button back and then load the blade. And then you push and you hear it click and it locks into place. It's a little tricky, but I'm sure over time it'll become easier and easier to put the blade. So when it comes to loading the blade, I would say the Milwaukee is easier, way easier to load the blade. But on the other hand, you have more blade in use with the pry bar. Now we will see how well that is, or how can I say this? How beneficial that feature will be, because usually when you have so much blade, the chance of the blade snapping increases. Now let's take a look at the belt clips. Now with the Milwaukee belt clip, most people are familiar with the belt clip from Milwaukee. They have this kind of wire and it's like tension, so you can see that. It works good, it works well. It's not the most robust belt clip, but it's a good quality belt clip. And then you can place the belt clip on both ends, so if you prefer to have the belt clip on the other end closer to the blade, you could switch it around. There's actually a little hole right there for the screw and a little indent for the wire. Now with the pry bar, now most people send in the comments that previously the Prybrid didn't have a belt clip. You had to buy the belt clip separate, but they're now shipping it with the belt clip. So this is the belt clip that comes with it, and it's a really nice thick belt clip. And this belt clip, you can't really remove it. You could, but you'll have to screw into the body of the knife. So it's only in one location. But it's a good quality, nice, thick belt clip. I like it. It's a nice belt clip. I sort of prefer it over the Milwaukee because it kind of slides onto your trouser a little easier because of how broad it is. There's a little more surface area. In hand, this feels really slippery. As you can see, it's really shiny with the grease. And because of the G10, this feels a little more secure in your hand. And then there's a little more grippy feeling to it because it's not metal. It's G10, so you have a little more control over this knife. So when you retract the blade fully, you have a little more control, a little more blade access. Whereas with the Milwaukee, you have less control and the pry bar is actually digging into your hand a little more. Whereas because of how the pry blade is made, it's giving you a little more control where you can set the blade a little more out even when you have to change it, right? So, and I don't think it doesn't push back in when you do that, so it's not gonna slide back in by itself. It locks, and when you lock it in this place, it doesn't move. So it's a little more secure, a little more comfortable to use. Although, as I said, the Milwaukee is a little smaller than the Prybrid. It literally makes a difference. It's a little more comfortable in your hands when you hold the Prybrid because of that extra blade length, where you could sort of have a little more control and it feels a little more secure in your hand. What can I say? Now, I'm going to test the nail pulling abilities. I'm going to test the what's it called this? The gut hook. And yeah, and then we'll give you my final thoughts on this. Right, we have 4 nails. These are headless 2-inch nails, and then we have 2 3-inch nails, and these nails are embedded almost, I think, 75% of the actual length. So we're going to test the Prybrid from Gerber first to see if it could remove this nail. Now I don't have much faith in it, and I'm going to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, this is not the primary function of it. This is like an emergency tool. You're doing some renovations and you forgot your pry bar and you have a little nail or staple to remove. You might use the pry bar, but to say that this is going to be an everyday demo tool, no. So I don't really have much faith in it. I don't think it's going to be able to pull it up. We're going to try anyway. So let's go. Seems to be budging a little bit, but nah, it's not budging. So alright, let's test the headless nails. Alright, let me try this one. Alright, and it's having a little difficulty because of the gap here. So let's go as I feel. Alright, let's try Milwaukee. So let's see what the Milwaukee could do. Same thing, same issues. So let's try and see. I'm gonna try a fresh one. Let's see if the Milwaukee will be able to pry it up. But before I do that, Milwaukee is a different design in that he has a slight bevel, so you get a little more leverage. Whereas with the pry bar, it's flush, so you have less leverage. But let's see if that makes a difference. So let's go. Applying. Nothing. It can't do it. So let's try this. Nothing. So I would say both the Milwaukee and the pry bar has failed the nail pulling test. I believe if they had to pull nails, they can't be embedded no more than 50% of the actual size of the nail or length of the nail, and they can be long nails. It could probably be a half inch, inch and a half, not inch and a half, at least an inch, inch and a half inch, and that's it. Anything beyond that, it can't do that. Staples, no problem. So Gerber bottle opener works better because of the design. It holds the crown a little better and removes it easier. Whereas in Milwaukee, there's a lot of struggle doing that. So the Gerber takes the bottle opener here. Now, after using both knives for a while now, well, I had the Milwaukee multifunctional knife for a longer period, and I had this for a couple of days. I could easily say that Milwaukee didn't do a very good job of copying the Prybrid from Gerber. And here are some of the reasons. Now, I want to start off with the slide button. Now, if you notice the slide button on the pry bar, the lines are horizontal across the button itself, and that offers better grip when you have to slide it. So when you put your finger on it, it doesn't slip off. It actually locks on, better friction and slides. With the Milwaukee, on the other hand, if you notice, there's almost a diagonal pattern, and it's smooth so that when you put your finger slides away, following the pattern. So that was poor design on Milwaukee's part. They need to change that button, make at least put a herringbone or an only knurling pattern where it crosses so that it have a little more surface area, because at this point sometimes your hand slips off, you have to press down real hard, which is not good. And that's the next thing too. You have to press a little too hard to deploy the blade. With the pry bar, it's a little easier. What else? This is an issue. Now, when I mean this, let me show you what I mean. If you notice, on both knives, right, the pry bar and the bottle opener is facing inward. Now, if I put it this way, now the blade deploys out, right, this way, and deploys out this way. And if you notice, when you have to hold the Milwaukee utility knife, this part of the bottle opener digs into your hand when you have to hold the blade. Now, let me put on the Milwaukee and show you now the difference of the pry bar, well, the Prybrid. Now, when you put it into your hand, you notice the part that points out for the opener is actually away from your hand, so it's not actually digging into your hand. Whereas with the Milwaukee, it actually digs into your hand. So that's poor design, and it's bigger, it's broader, and it's not as sharp as the Gerber, but it's very uncomfortable to hold for a long period of time. And then, in addition to that, as I mentioned before, the way the body feels, the G10 feels more secure, more friction in your hand, so you have a better grip, even when your hands are sweaty or wet. And even if you're wearing a glove, yeah, that might eliminate the issue, but most of the time, you're using this without a glove. But with the Milwaukee, because of the metal painted body, and you have a couple of areas where you have some grip, but for the most part, the body is ever slippery. Then you have this raised area here that sort of conceals the raise of the button, and it's not really that good. And plus, I don't like the fact that Milwaukee had false advertising saying that it's really thin, and there's no part of this blade is actually thin except for the pry bar area. Whereas if you look at the silhouette of the side shot of the Gerber, it's actually a slim utility knife. So That's it. Oh, well, I want to mention the belt clip. The belt clip is way better on the Prybrid than the Milwaukee. This is not a bad one, but when you have to put it into your pocket, you sort of slide it in a little easier with the Prybrid than with the Milwaukee. Overall, the Milwaukee utility knife is a good knife. It functions well. It feels good to some extent. Not as good as the Gerber, but it feels good. But I will say, all right, Milwaukee did copy, but they didn't do a good job. They need to go back to Gerber with this utility knife and improve the button, switch the location of the opener, put a little something extra, a little piece of metal, so that they can hold cans better. Obviously, you won't be using this 24, but it's about everyday carry. You will be using this knife to open some bottles. But saying that, it's an okay knife, but not a good job of copying the Gerber. So yeah, that's it. So I think I covered everything. I think there's nothing that I left off. What I would say though, which is a positive, that Milwaukee already has a better blade release button than the Gerber. But for the most part, once you get a hang of removing your blade, this is not really an issue, to be honest. Once you get a hang of removing your blade, this is not really a problem. But overall, that's the reason Milwaukee did better. And it being a metal body is not really a big difference. A lot of Milwaukee's utility knives have the I think it's plastic, ABS plastic bodies, and they last long, right? So that's not really an advantage. So yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope that this video was helpful. If it was, please like and subscribe to go-to reviews, and in addition to that, put on your notification bell, because that's how you'll know when we upload videos, and it kind of helps the algorithm. A lot of people see it, but I can actually see the difference when you put your notification on. I post a video and the video gets a couple likes, a couple views, because nobody knew the video was posted. So look out for some other videos you have to do, some other reviews. And again, thanks for watching, and hope this video was helpful. Right? See you on the next one.
别墅里面唱 K，水池里面饮龙鱼。